In our previous episode, motocross was on fire. Twin shocks were dying, water cooling had arrived, and Japan's Big Four were battling to change the sport forever. But while 1981 and 82 laid the foundation, the years that followed would push motocross tech into overdrive. By 1983, water cooling was the new normal, and Kawasaki was the last of the Big Four manufacturers to finally put liquid cooling on their 250 motocrosser. One bike that deserves a special mention here is the 1983 KX500, often described as the one dirt bike to ride before you die, or by Dirt Bike magazine as a fuse looking for a light, or more simply, unrideable, violent. The biggest green meanie was certainly no slouch in the horsepower department. At 65 ponies and a dry weight of a touch over 104 kilograms, it was so formidable that its narrow power spread and ferocious delivery was seen as the outer limit of sanity in its day. The full floater continued to set the standard for plush-controlled rear suspension. The RM 125, 250 and 500 were all competitive, with the RM 500's big power tamed by that legendary rear end. Yamaha's 1983 model YZ 125 and 250 finally got the radiator off the handlebars and were as competitive as ever, with the monocross system now lighter and more responsive. The 490 was a handful, but in the right hands it was nearly unbeatable.
Three of the top foreign riders are in that crash on the very first turn of this Moto. But Brock Glover, quite a break. Remember, he finished second in the first Moto or heat here. A victory here would give him a chance at the overall championship. But close behind him still, the man who won the first one, Haken Carquist.
Honda CRs were all about continued refinement, sharper handling, better suspension, and more reliable engines. The CR 125R was a favourite among young racers, while the 250R and CR 480R were the weapons of choice for serious competitors.
Honda's production motocrossers are as close as possible to factory works bikes in design and features. Ideas proven by 3 national championships have been immediately incorporated into the 83 production CRs. Like the new CR 480, its redesigned engine delivers a remarkable horsepower through an all-new 5-speed transmission. ProLink rear suspension with new 12-way adjustable compression damping and 20-way adjustable rebound damping, and a dry weight of only 225 pounds that puts the CR 480 right at the minimum class limit, and a gas tank that extends down the side of the frame, concentrating more weight near the machine's center of gravity for better handling. There's also a removable rear frame section for easy servicing and a lightweight aluminum silencer. The Honda CR480R, big bore motocross technology refined by Roger DeCoster and proven by Team Honda. Works performance doesn't stop with the CR480. Both the CR125 and 250 are also based directly on factory races. Their liquid-cooled 2-stroke engines are even more powerful than last year, yet both machines weigh in at the absolute class minimum. On the 125, the engine has been completely redesigned to be lighter and more compact. And both bikes feature a removable rear frame section for easy access to the shock and air cleaner. And they both have improved ProLink suspension with adjustable compression and rebound damping, and special no-slip rims with strong straight pull spokes. These bikes are so advanced, you'll think you're riding a works bike.
In 1984, the gap between factory and production bikes was shrinking. Privateers could finally buy machines that weren't far off from what the pros were riding. Suspension tuning became an art form, with riders and mechanics spending hours dialing in rebound, compression and sag to suit their style in the track. In 1984, Honda introduced their ATAC system, the automatic torque amplification chamber on the CR125 and 250R models. This early power valve system broadened the power band, making the bikes more rideable and forgiving. Kawasaki's KX lineup for 1984 received minor improvements. The KX 500 was still a formidable beast with its raw power, making it a favourite among open-class fans. Suzuki kept refining the full floater with lighter frames and even better suspension action. The RM 125, 250 and RM 500 were all competitive in their classes. Ergonomics improved too. Bikes were now taller, slimmer and more comfortable, letting riders attack the track with newfound aggression. By 1985, the modern motocross bike had arrived. Kawasaki introduced KIPS, the Kawasaki Integrated Power Valve System, on their KX 125 and 250, giving the engines a much broader and more controllable power band. While the KX 500 didn't get a power valve like its smaller siblings, the Works replica, as Kawasaki called it, did however receive water cooling for the first time in 1985, and it was still as fast and intimidating as ever. Suspension and handling were now as important as horsepower. By 1985, Suzuki's full floater was now widely regarded as the best rear suspension in the business, and the RM lineup was as competitive as ever. However, 1985 would also be the last year we would see the full floater in its original design. Both the 125 and 250 would be completely redesigned for 1986, marking the end of an era for the RM series. Yamaha's motocross system also was nearly at its peak, with the YZ125 and 250 among the best handling bikes on the track. However, in 1985, Yamaha introduced the infamous BASS system, brake actuated suspension system. This was Yamaha's attempt to improve rear suspension performance during braking. Unfortunately, it didn't work and most riders ended up just disabling it or removing it altogether. The 490, while still a handful of course, was a legend in its own right. Honda's CRs were now fully evolved with liquid cooling, disc brakes and ATAC power valves on the 125 and 250. The CR125, CR250 and the mighty 1985 CR500R were the benchmarks for performance and reliability. Between 1978 and 1985, motocross bikes didn't just get faster, they got smarter. Long travel and single shock suspensions transformed the way riders attacked the track. Water cooling let engines scream all moto long. Disc brakes brought stopping power into the modern age, and power valves made bikes more versatile than ever. Ergonomics improved too. Bikes were now taller, slimmer, and more comfortable, letting riders attack the track with newfound aggression. These weren't just machines. They were milestones, each one a chapter in the story of motocross's relentless evolution.
Hannah and O'Mara are both go-for-it riders. Teammates or not, they both want to win, and they'll ride each other into the ground to do it. And I'm sure...
If you ever swung a leg over one of these legends, you know the feeling. The thrill of riding the cutting edge. The pride of piloting a machine that was rewriting the rules. The innovations of these pivotal years, once radical, even controversial, were now standard equipment. The sport had been transformed, and the echoes of that era still reverberate every time a modern bike hits the track.
Refuses to back off. Hannah goes wide. O'Mara cuts to the inside. He repasses Hannah. They collide. O'Mara looks back and he waved Hannah by. I don't understand this, and I don't think that Hannah...
If you enjoyed this blast from the past and want to see more similar stories, or even if you have some topic ideas you would like to see, hit that like button, drop your favorite bike memory and suggestions in the comments, and subscribing too would be great. Thanks for watching. See you next time. MotoTouro.